I genuinely hope CPS is on their way. Not just the excuses, but the general selfishness of this mom.
If you guys think when Stephanie Jenkins said that being pregnant with a black baby is way harder than being pregnant with a white baby, if y'all think that was crazy, then I need you to brace yourself for what I'm about to show you, because it gets even worse. She has said even worse things about her biracial children.
Okay, so Stephanie Jenkins really thought she could play the privacy card on her daughter Minova's health, while still posting her all over TikTok. And now, the internet is dragging her.
Now, what's funny to me is Stephanie said that she's not telling us nothing because of HIPAA, and she's respecting her child's privacy because she doesn't have consent from her. Now, Stephanie, we know that you do not care about having your child's consent. You have quite literally been putting their lives on TikTok for, what, years?
What makes this even messier is that in our previous coverage, we talked about how she flat out refused to react to concerns until Alita exposed the situation publicly.
Alita just said that Deshaun hadn't been to the doctors since 2021. So if Deshaun hadn't been to the doctors, then none of the kids have been to the doctors.
Back then, she stayed silent and tried to dodge the conversation entirely. Fast forward to now, and instead of calmly addressing the issue, she's opening up, but in the rudest, most defensive way possible. Rather than treating this as a serious medical issue that deserves urgent care, she brushed it off like it's normal and snapped at people for even noticing. That shift from silence to sudden hostility only makes the contradictions sharper.
But respectfully, it's none of your business what's going on with my kids and their medical stuff. I really don't get why everybody keeps prying at that, okay?
I'm sorry, but what? You can't post your kids daily, pocket all the clicks, and then scream, "Respect our privacy," the second viewers point out something alarming. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And the more you look at her response, the more contradictions pop up.
I have a question for you, Stephanie Jenkins. Can you get any more reckless? No, I'm serious. Can you?
Stephanie confirmed her daughter Minova has developed cross eyes that weren't visible before. She admitted she kept re-recording her videos because she came off disrespectful. She told the public it's none of their business, even though she's the one posting her kids daily. Claimed she's aware of the issue and will take care of it, but hasn't taken her baby to the doctor yet. Downplayed the concern by saying both her and Drew have lazy eyes. Tried to pull HIPAA laws as her excuse for not disclosing details. Critics called out hypocrisy. She has shared other kids' diagnoses for years when it suited her narrative. Meanwhile, Drew is allegedly dodging child support, lying about jobs, and still tied up in court. So here's the problem we're unpacking. Is Stephanie really protecting her kids or just dodging accountability? Stephanie finally came out to address her baby's sudden cross eyes, a change that viewers instantly noticed because the child hadn't shown those symptoms just weeks earlier. Instead of calmly taking ownership of the situation, she explained in detail that she had to reshoot her video multiple times because she felt she came off mad and disrespectful.
I've recorded this quite a few times, and actually not in the bathroom the first couple of times, but that's okay. But I just feel like it just keeps coming off a little more disrespectful than I wanted to.
That small detail may sound minor, but it speaks volumes about her state of mind. It shows her frustration wasn't directed inward at herself or delaying action, but outward toward viewers who were genuinely worried about a visible change in her daughter.
Because you keep posting her. People are prying about it because you keep posting her. If you don't want people asking or prying or being concerned about your children, don't post them. It's quite literally that simple. Just stop posting them altogether, especially now that you're concerned about consent, which you should have been since day fucking one, but the littlest two can't speak, so stop posting them. Not to mention you have literally shared their medical information, if you will, in the past when you've shared your children going to the dentist or the baby getting vaccines, and now all of a sudden you're pressed about their consent, you should have been since day one. And people are just simply concerned, especially because you yourself, Stephanie, have said that you don't believe in modern day medicine. You believe in natural medicine or natural remedies, meaning you don't like to take your kids to the doctor. So if you post about that, people are going to pry about it and ask you about it. So you getting upset because of your own actions, it makes no sense. That's a great way for people to stop talking about them, stop worrying about them, is if you stop giving them a reason to.
The repeated filming highlights how deeply uncomfortable she was with acknowledging the issue publicly, almost as if her anger at being questioned had become more urgent in her mind than addressing her daughter's health. By obsessing over tone instead of urgency, she unintentionally revealed where her priorities lay, and it wasn't with getting immediate care. She then doubled down with a sharp and defensive statement. It's none of the public's business what's going on with my kids and their medical staff.
But respectfully, it's none of your business what's going on with my kids and their medical stuff. I really don't get why everybody keeps prying at that, okay? I am well aware that my 7-month-old's eye crosses, and she will get the medical treatment she needs for that. Will all of you guys be updated on that? No, because it's none of your business.
The tone here matters because she framed genuine concern as if it were nothing more than intrusion. But here's the catch. When you post your children daily, showcasing them at every milestone and stage of growth, and then suddenly a visible medical change appears, people are naturally going to notice. That's the trade-off of family vlogging. You create a parasocial bond with an audience, and that audience will respond to changes, whether they are joyful or concerning. You can't selectively invite the internet into your kids' lives for engagement, sympathy, and views, then slam the door shut the moment accountability enters the conversation. That contradiction is at the very heart of why the backlash hit so hard. The audience felt used, welcomed when the clicks are profitable, shunned when their observations turned critical.
Funny only now she is concerned about the privacy of her children. This is a woman who openly has said that she doesn't trust medical professionals. On several occasions, she has been known for self-diagnosing her kids along with no W to Drew. I think the internet is correct to be concerned about the baby.
I will start sharing a little bit more.
But ain't this you sharing our experience self-diagnosing Bubba's last month?
HIPAA, that's all I'm going to say. And
Lastly, Stephanie, you need to Google what HIPAA is because every time you have brought it up, it's in the wrong context.
Instead of interpreting the concern as compassion, Stephanie chose to lash out. She told her audience she would eventually take her daughter to the doctor. Notice the choice of words? Not today, not tomorrow, not even soon, but eventually.
We'll get the medical treatment she needs for that. Will all of you guys be updated on that? No, because it's none of your business. I have respect for content creators who do choose to share their children's medical journeys, whether it be for awareness or just because that's what they feel comfortable doing so. However, I personally feel like that kind of HIPAA, that's all I'm going to say. And I feel like until my child is old enough to have consent and knowledge of me sharing all of this information, I don't feel comfortable doing so. That's me personally. Again, I'm really not trying to step on anybody's toes. I follow a lot of content creators who do share medical journeys with about their kids, and I'm not gonna support you any less because I'm not the type of person who judges another person's life. That's their choices. They're doing what they're doing for their reasons. How the fuck would I know what they're doing for? Really felt like I needed to address this because people just you get out of line when you keep prying. Like, one person went so far as to tell me like she would take my kids to the appointments herself. A stranger online was like, I'll make sure your kids get to the doctor. Excuse me? You guys are wild. And y'all tell me I'm the one who's nutty. Hush, please, because this is crazy to me. No.
That single word drips with procrastination. It confirms she already knew about the problem and had still chosen not to act with urgency. that is where the negligence argument begins to creep in. Because if you're aware of a medical condition, acknowledge it publicly, and still decide to put off getting care, you are signaling loudly that other priorities, whether that's content creation, avoiding criticism, or plain stubbornness, are taking precedence over your child's health. It's less about privacy and more about avoidance. And that avoidance is exactly what has people sounding their alarms. For viewers, the issue wasn't just the word eventually. It was everything that word revealed about her pattern of delay and dismissal.
I promise y'all, I did not get 30 seconds into Stephanie Thompson's video before I wanted to tell her to shut the fuck up. Just shut the fuck up, Stephanie. Your house is dirty. You don't take care of your fucking kids. You get on the internet and give all your shit, well, half your shit, and say, I'm authentic. I'm authentic. You're not authentic. You're not transparent. You're a fucking liar. All you do is get on these interwebs and tell lies. Now you want to come talk to people because they're talking about your daughter's fucking eyes and say, it's none of our fucking business. And HIPAA, bitch, HIPAA ain't got shit to do with us. That is for a medical personnel to take. Shut the fuck up, Stephanie Thompson, Jenkins, whatever the fuck your name is. Shut the fuck up. Every time you open your mouth, you trigger people because we cannot deal with so much. Try not to get this fucking video flagged, but honestly, I don't think we care. I think a lot of people talk about your kids to make money, and that's cool. That's what they do because you exploit your children. You damn sure haven't made your kids old enough to consent to be exploited all over the internet. You do that all by yourself, but I guess that's okay. We know you're not going to do anything about what's going on with your daughter. We know you really don't give a fuck about what's going on with your daughter. You're just going to say whatever and get on the internet and tell us to stop worrying about it and it's none of our business. Little girl, you made your whole life the whole internet's business. We didn't ask you anything about you because you were nothing. You were nobody that anybody cared about. You brought your whole world to the internet. We didn't go looking for you. So you made your shit everybody's fucking business. If you don't like it, turn your camera off and shut the fuck up, Stephanie. Hope this helped.
She wrote, also, if you pay close attention, both you and myself have a wandering eye. I always called mine a lazy eye. Girl, come on now. Nobody has ever seen this on you or Drew. Not once. And we've sat through hours of your clips and live streams. To suddenly bring it up now, right when people are pointing out your baby's health, just screams deflection. If it was really that obvious, viewers would have clocked it ages ago, especially since you share nearly every corner of your life online. Stephanie, I don't share my kids' medical information because of HIPAA laws. They can decide when they are old enough. HIPAA? Come on, really? That doesn't even apply here. You're not their doctor, and HIPAA only covers health providers, not parents.
Stephanie Jenkins saying that she's not going to keep us updated on her children's diagnosis, and she just blurts out of nowhere, HIPAA, that's why. Do you know what HIPAA means? Do you know what HIPAA means? You are so gung-ho about sharing the life of your kids, what they're doing, what's going on in school, how they're being bullied, telling us everything. And all of a sudden, when we want you to act on some concerns that we have, you throw out the word HIPAA. What about HIPAA when it came to the simple fact that you were diagnosing, and it sounds really bad, but you were saying some really mean things about Deshaun, about how he has FAS, and that was fine. When you diagnosed your son of having ASD, the little one, Bubba, that was fine. But somehow you feel some type of way when we were talking about Momo, little Manova, that's the issue? Okay.
Throwing out a fancy legal word might sound official to some, but it's flat out misleading. And of course, viewers caught the contradiction instantly. Her caption read, "Not sharing my children's medical information is my choice to protect their privacy," with hashtags mind your business and hashtag privacy matters. The irony here is wild. Stephanie had zero hesitation blasting out her kids' homelessness, their trauma, their behavior struggles, and all kinds of personal details that will stick with them forever. But the second it's about basic medical care and her responsibility as a parent, suddenly, It's too private? Please. This is where it really takes a messy turn. Stephanie has openly said before that she doesn't trust modern medicine, and now she's doubling down by insisting she'll handle it while still not actually taking her daughter in. Add that to Alita's claim that Deshaun's last doctor visit was way back in 2021, and the suspicion grows louder. Is Stephanie actively avoiding doctors altogether, just like before when she ignored concerns until Alita dragged it into the light? And then, instead of showing even a shred of humility, she tried to make viewers sound insane, bragging that someone DM'd her offering to personally take her kids to appointments. Rather than stopping to think about why strangers felt desperate enough to offer that, she mocked them as wild. The irony writes itself. She's the one constantly oversharing, building entire storylines of her kids, and then crying privacy invasion the second people connect the dots and call out what's missing. Stephanie throws out the word HIPPA like it's a magic shield, using it to instantly shut down the conversation. But the problem is obvious. HIPAA doesn't even apply here. By tossing it into the debate, she makes it sound like there is a legal wall that excuses her from answering questions. That's not protection. That's smoke and mirrors.
What's funny to me is Stephanie said that she's not telling us nothing because of HIPAA, and she's respecting her child's privacy because she doesn't have consent from her. Now, Stephanie, we know that you do not care about having your child's consent. You have quite literally been putting their lives on TikTok for, years? And I'm not saying that she owes any of us anything. But she also can get mad when people start noticing things like that. She says that Manova is going to get the help that she needs. She's going to get the medical treatment that she needs. But is she really? Because Arlita just said that Deshaun hadn't been to the doctors since 2021. So if Deshaun hadn't been to the doctors, then none of the kids have been to the doctors. Then she said that Manova's eyes do that because her and Drew's eyes do that as well. So basically she says she ain't telling us shit, but she just told us a whole lot of shit. So girl, I don't know.
And honestly, it feels less about keeping her kids safe and more about keeping herself from being exposed. No doctor's visit means no record, and no record means no one can hold her accountable. That's how she silences critiques and dodges scrutiny. Once you get past the HIPAA smokescreen, you start to see the pattern. Stephanie is always ready to share details that paint her as the struggling mom who needs sympathy, stories of homelessness, trauma, and diagnoses that make her kids' struggles easier to explain. Why? Because those details bring clicks, comments, and compassion. But the moment the story shifts to something that could make her look negligent, suddenly it's private. That double standard says it all. Her version of privacy isn't about boundaries, it's about filtering. Share what's profitable, hide what's damaging, and that's why so many people feel played. And then there is the third angle. The idea that her defensive anger comes straight from guilt. Some people think she might already know why Minova's developed cross eyes and just doesn't want that truth uncovered. Maybe it's neglect. Maybe it's something else entirely. Either way, her reaction doesn't read like a mom carefully protecting her child's dignity. It reads like someone desperate to shut the conversation down before it exposes her. That kind of explosive defensiveness doesn't calm suspicion, it makes it worse. So when you connect these threads, a big picture comes into focus. Stephanie wants all the perks of family content, the sympathy, the engagement, the money, but none of the accountability that comes with putting her kids online. Each theory flows right into the next, all pointing to the same conclusion. She benefits from exposure until exposure stops working in her favor. The backlash online is growing. People are calling out hypocrisy, gaslighting, and possible neglect. And this is where the conversation starts to snowball into something much bigger. As criticism mounts, the whispers about accountability become harder to ignore, and the tension between Stephanie and her audience sharpens. From there, the possibility of CPS stepping in feels less like a wild speculation and more like a natural extension of the concerns being raised. When past comments show she hasn't prioritized doctor visits for years, every delay or defensive excuse feeds into the fear that outside intervention might be the only way change happens. It's natural transition. What begins as online backlash quickly transforms into real-world consequences. That erosion of trust also spreads into our audience's perception. Viewers don't just dislike selective sharing, they resent it. The more she flips between oversharing trauma and clamping up when accountability knocks, the clearer the pattern becomes, and trust begins to collapse. Once trust erodes, the very parasocial bond she built her platform on starts to crack, leaving her in a much weaker position with her own supporters. Adding fuel to this fire is Ju's ongoing legal mess. Alita isn't just making vague accusations. She has receipts showing unpaid child support, questionable Safeway job claims, and even alleged fake autism claims in court. When Stephanie defends him while viewers are already questioning her parenting, the drama from his side pours gasoline on the fire from hers. The audience doesn't see two separate issues. They see one toxic pattern reinforced by both parents. This is why this story matters. It's not just about one baby's eye condition. It's about how influencers exploit their kids until accountability shows up and then suddenly hide behind privacy to dodge consequences. Here's my verdict. Stephanie isn't protecting her kids' privacy. She's protecting herself. She has no issue broadcasting trauma when it makes her relatable or monetizable. But the moment accountability knocks, she hides behind flimsy excuses. And Drew? Still dodging financial responsibility, still embarrassing himself in court, and still setting a terrible example for his children. Final thought? If you don't want the public to care, stop posting your kids. If you do post them, accept the feedback and actually prioritize their health. Period. So what do you think? Is Stephanie weaponizing privacy to avoid accountability? Or is this genuinely a mom overwhelmed and tired of strangers prying? Let me know in the comments, because this saga is far from over and the receipts keep piling up.